This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Inauguration of Atal Tunnel in Rohtang and its strategic importance. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Deepak Kumar Dash, journalist.
Mr. Tandon, today was a historic day for India and also particularly for our border states. When Prime Minister inaugurated Atal Tunnel, which is also known as Rohtang Tunnel, Prime Minister has said that this is a big achievement primarily because it will improve the connectivity between Himachal Pradesh and Leh-Ladakh, but actually it has a lot of strategic importance. How do you look at this entire project, because you have been associated with former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee? How do you recall and see this project in whole?
It was in 2000 when Mr. Vajpayee was on a vacation in Manali, and since this tunnel issue has been there for a very long time, and the Chief Minister of Himachal, Mr. Dhomal, and the BJP in charge of Himachal, Mr. Narendra Modi, they were all met Prime Minister Vajpayee and suggested that this tunnel is very important, and then the idea was conceived in 2000 by Prime Minister Vajpayee, and he laid the foundation stone in 2002, and now the dream of Mr. Vajpayee has come true. And incidentally, the person, BJP in charge of Himachal, Mr. Narendra Modi, who in fact made the representation to Prime Minister, was today himself inaugurating that tunnel. So it's basically a dream come true for Mr. Narendra Modi also. Now the tunnel has a long history because it's a very difficult terrain. The tunnel at an altitude of 10,000 feet, and that too 9.02 kilometer long. It is an ultra-modern tunnel with specification, and we all know it's in the Pir Panjal range of Himalayas. So therefore, it's not only a gift to Himachal Pradesh and the people of Lahaul Spiti and other remote areas of Himachal, but it is also feather in the cap of the Border Road Organization, which comes under Defence Ministry, because it will be lifeline for the army vehicles. And so therefore, it's very strategic, and it will certainly help the defence forces, not only carrying the troops, etc., but also the supply line also. So it's going to be a game changer as far as India's security in the border areas, particularly in the Himalayan region, is concerned.
When you actually said that Atal Bihari Vajpayee had first, conceptualized it, was that the tunnel or approach road?
Basically leading to that concept.
Okay. So now the question comes, it took 10 years. What Prime Minister also said that the pace of construction was very less till 2014. After that, actually, it got huge speed. And he also talked about how there is a need to accelerate all the, infrastructure development along borders, particularly for defense purposes.
Yes, Prime Minister was very emphatic that the border infrastructure has to be strengthened, which his government has been doing since 2014. And he was very right in saying that ever since his government came to office, the pace of development of this tunnel was really very given a sort of a push, because Prime Minister himself was monitoring it from time to time. And it was not an easy job to do that, particularly in that terrain, the weather conditions and all that. But I must say, now since the whole thing has been completed, so let's forget about it and talk only about the advantages this tunnel is going to have from the strategic point of view, from tourism point of view, and also from the point of view of development of the remote areas of Himachal. As the Prime Minister said, it is a gateway to development of Himachal Pradesh, particularly in that region.
What are the new, most modern facilities? If you can tell us, what Prime Minister talked about. SCADA-controlled firefighting system, illumination, monitoring system. Can you throw a little bit more light on that?
This tunnel, which is slightly more than 9 kilometers long, now there would be a telephone facility at every 150 meters of its stretch, and then a fire hydrant at every 60 meters, emergency exit every 500 meters, turning points at every 2.2 kilometers, air quality monitoring system at every kilometer, and broadcasting system, automatic incident detection system with CCTV cameras at every 250 meters. So all these things have been provided, and as I said, the tunnel is the longest highway tunnel in the world because it has been constructed altitude of 10,000 feet, and it will certainly connect Manali to Lahaul Spiti throughout the year. So earlier this whole area used to be blocked because of snow cut off from rest of the country for 6 months in a year. So now it will be an all-weather road, and it will be reducing the distance to Leh and Ladakh. That is also very significant, and as we already discussed, that this tunnel will have a capacity of a traffic density of 3,000 cars per day and 1,500 trucks per day, and the height also has been, if the vehicles move at 80 km per hour speed. So I think specifically designed keeping in view the requirement of the defense vehicles. I think it will help the people of remote areas of Lahore and Spiti and particularly Mangi Valley to remain connected with the rest of the state throughout the year. And we should appreciate the border road organization because they worked relentlessly. So hats off to Indian engineers and also the companies which helped, including Steel Authority of India and many other the public sector undertakings which helped to complete this horseshoe-shaped, single-tube, double-lane tunnel and with a roadway of 8 meters, and it has an overhead clearance, as I said, 5.5 to 5 meters because keeping in view the vehicles of the armed forces.
Prime Minister also said that there has been a lot of focus on building more tunnels, building more roads, building more bridges. If you recall this Chennai-Nasri tunnel, which has also started long back, Prime Minister inaugurated in 2017. Then we have Kwajigan-Banihal tunnel again in Jammu and Kashmir. Third big tunnel that is coming up is, or the work will start, is Zojila tunnel, Jadmore. So a whole lot of tunnels are now being either built or are planned in a big way.
The border infrastructure is very important from the point of view of the development of those regions as well as from the strategic point of view. So keeping that in view, the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has also undertaken this task. They are also building roads in many areas, highways in northeast and even in other difficult terrain, and for that they have also launched another company that's under the ministry apart from NHAI that is already doing this job in northeast area, northeast states as well as in the other Himalayan region train. So idea basically, Prime Minister Vajpayee started the road network, highway network in India, and that is now being carried forward by Narendra Modi government, and also the minister in charge of road transport highway, Nitin Gadkari, and therefore the network of road transport and highways, also rail, air network, all these things are now very high on the agenda of this government, and that is exactly will help in achieving the goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat. They are now being taken up literally on war footing. That's why the per day road construction is perhaps the highest since independence. And therefore Himachal Pradesh particularly, and also Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand, these are the very key border states where, as the number of tunnels you have mentioned is already in progress, some tunnels have already been completed, and apart from the tunnels, the highway projects are also being built at a very high pace.
Another thing Prime Minister also talked about, which you and we all of know who cover this sector or who are experts in this field, that delay is one of the biggest reasons. The cost of Rohtang tunnel went up like anything, almost like around 4 times. Many other projects get delayed. So what should be the approach of the government to ensure that such strategic projects actually get completed in time?
This tunnel now ultimately has now been built at a cost of 3,300 crores, which of course went up. But certain factors are beyond human control, like weather, particularly landslides. We have seen recently in flood, number of highways under construction got blocked because of the landslide. So there are natural calamities, there are natural reasons like floods, weather. But in spite of that, I think the fact remains that now the pace of development has taken shape. And we do hope, as the Prime Minister said, if this particular tunnel project had been lingering on as it was before his regime, it would have taken 40 years. So once there is a political will, there is a determination, obviously things can improve as we are witnessing now. So we do hope that all the undergoing projects will be completed on time.
One thing is, a Prime Minister in a way tried to address to armed forces in many ways, not just by talking about this tunnel, which is of huge importance to them. As you rightly said, it will also improve supply chain to the armed forces posted in Leh, Ladakh, all those tough terrains. But also he talked about OROP and what all measures the government is taking, to take care to ensure that all people from the armed forces get the best benefit. How do you look at that political messaging?
Indian armed forces, whether the Army, Navy or Air Force, they have done a tremendous job. They don't need anybody's certificate. They have proved what they are and they have shown, whether it was Kargil war or otherwise, and whether it is facing terrorism, combating terrorism. But the fact remains that political leadership also has given them full backing. Now, if the armed forces given full backing by the government, by the leadership, whether it is in terms of taking care of their needs like one rank, one pension, or even giving them sophisticated modern weapons, which are being now the Indian armed forces are being equipped with, and that gives them strength to face any challenge. Their capability shown recently in Ladakh. We are proud of our armed forces, but at the same time, if the political leadership takes care of their problems, their needs, their concerns, whether it relates to their family problems, whether it relates to their pension, or whether it relates to the equipment they need. So in all these respects, I think in the last 5-6 years, the armed forces have been given what they are in fact expecting. So that's why one rank, one pension is there. Then CDS. And this was the great demand. And today we saw all the senior commanders were present. So these things give boost to the morale of the armed forces. And that is exactly what was needed, and it has been given now. And therefore our armed forces are in a state of preparedness, and they can meet any challenge from across the border, anywhere, whether it is from the land, air, or even navy.
All these things are actually coming at a time we are seeing very hectic activities in the border. So Prime Minister going and inaugurating a project just close to Ladakh, that also sends a lot of message to our neighbors.
Certainly, in fact, point cannot be missed that even in this pandemic, the Prime Minister could have inaugurated the tunnel sitting in Delhi through video conferencing. But he personally visited there, and that very right he said that. His visit to the border areas also boosts the morale of the armed forces. So the Defence Minister, the Army Chief, all of them being present physically. So it was not a virtual inauguration. It was a physical presence of the Prime Minister and the entire Indian Defence Brass. So these things not only help to the residents and the local population about the leadership which cares for them, and now since India is moving towards Atmanirbhar Bharat even in defence production through joint ventures, that also is a huge, I think, game changer in the coming years, that India would not only be self-sufficient in defence production for its own requirement, but will also be exporting. So all these things put together, I think the Indian Armed Forces, they are really assured their leadership is in safe hands, and therefore they are also capable and ready to take any challenge in whatsoever it may come. Because India of 1962 is not there. Now India has moved forward, and therefore anybody across the border, any misadventure from either side obviously will be taken care of.
If we come back to tunnel again, Prime Minister talked about Atal tunnel, and as we discussed this, Jadmore is already under construction. The Jojila tunnel will start. Another big tunnel has been planned on this particular pass, that is Singula Pass, between again Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh. So in a way, government is also ensuring that a parallel road comes up, not just along the Pakistan border or close to China. Rather, we are actually building a completely new link. That becomes a new alternate, and that will be of great help to the Indian Army and our strategic movements.
Our border infrastructure is primarily to boost the economic activity in this region, also to give a big boost to tourism in this entire region, whether it is northeast, whether it is Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir or Uttarakhand. But the fact remains that these are all border areas, and therefore from the point of view of our India's defence preparedness, and these are strategic roads, so therefore these roads are built from the point of view of the defence preparedness also. And therefore India is not only progressing, advancing in economic activities and Atmanirbhar Bharat in respect of India's economy, but also Atmanirbhar as far as defence preparedness is concerned.
As government builds more and more tunnels, more roads, more highways, we hope that people's hope will be completely fulfilled. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on inauguration of Atal Tunnel in Rohtang and its strategic importance. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Deepak Kumar Das, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.